Hey, great job today. So, last week we did this kind of thing with the E flat major, D flat major, F, G minor, C. We were just trying to simply see how those chords fit together when we have a major that's not like something we've worked on thus far, like a D major, G major, which clearly have defined majors or minors, have clearly defined sharps that we're aware of now. The takeaway from today is when we play in the key of D that has two sharps, F sharp and C sharp, clearly we have D, E, F sharp, because we know that note as being the same note from G. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. We know that because we went over C from C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. We didn't say any sharps or flats in there, and what we realized was when we change the numbers of sharps in there, we change our key signature. If I were to just have C major have a flat 7, C, D, E, F, G, A, B flat, C, it would still be a C major scale, but that flat 7th denotes that minor 7th, rather than the major scale in that key, derives a dominant tone from the triad that is formed from that note now. Meaning, we've got one triad that sits on top of another triad. How wonderful. When that triad fits together with another, we get a chord cluster, somewhat like a polychord cluster. And what happens is we get to use that. G major has a relative minor of E minor. When we take a G major and we put its third, the B, and we make a triad out of it, we can either have a minor or a diminished. If we use that diminished to our advantage, we can get that sound of a G7 or a dominant 7. That is going to be the passing chord, leading chord that we're going to use. Today's takeaway, there are 3 modal structures you can use besides just Mixolydian. G, A, B, C, D, E. This ta, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ta, do, still resolves. The pull is going closer towards that octave resolve than it is towards the major 4 and 5. G, A, B, C, and D. C major being and D major. When we utilize this, you'll love it that any time you're playing a song like a G major, a C major, and a D major, all of the notes from all of those chords are found within those main Ionian scales or structures, or augmentations to that, like a C Lydian, which then would contain C, D, E, F sharp, to give you the same note that was in your G7 and in your D. Notice how when you play a D7, rather than having the major 7th, the C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D, we have a C natural, denoting it's a minor 7th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 1, still does the same thing that the G did with the F and the F sharp concept. However, now that C is in the same note spelling as G major and as C natural. So what happens is that now C note doesn't have to be a C sharp, and you can use this scale over all 3 of those chords. When you go to the G7, you then can play your G Mixolydian. G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Meaning all the notes in G are now natural. What happens when we change the first movement or the interval of that G natural? We then get a subset mode of G Mixolydian. If I started with A and went up, it becomes a different mode. We will discuss this way more further. However, what I'd like you to do this week is just jam over 3 basic chords. How about G major, D7, and then how about something fun like E minor to an F major, F sharp major, G. It would have this feeling of a chuck. That's the feeling rhythm. up your chords too. You don't always have to stay on the same ones. This F can also be played as this F and then drop back. So you could have like a they work both ways. Fun? I hope you saw the way those fingers move. Let me move slower. G major can be played with any of these fingering sets. I prefer to play my D major with my second, let my pinky do all the hard lifting, so my first finger is available to play the minor third, if I choose to go there. And if I felt like doing a bluegrass 2-note movement, I could do one of those old-fashioned walk-ups. Thusly, using the D7 towards my advantage and then being able to moving up towards the F sharp there. When we go to the E minor, notice that we're basically going back to the G major and adding one note. It gives it the feeling of having that B there, and then it gives it the feeling over the top to having that high G right from an E minor, G major. So heck, you could use all the notes from G major. All the notes from E minor are all the same of those. So when you play the E minor, except for that last note, that was a moving leading tone that I tried to use. So here's the takeaway. Play G, play D, play E, play F, F sharp, G. Set that rhythm, record it if you can, and try and come up with the ditty over the top. Something like... You can do moving notes in there, and remember, if you hit a wrong note, that's the whole purpose of this. When going slower, you will find that the spider exercises will have put your fingers in the right position. Watch this little weird one, the lick we worked on today in practice. 2, 3, 5, 2, 3, 3. Right above it. Work on that. And then next week, we're going to put that into a practical application while building ourselves up the fretboard using the different modes we've been talking about. Ionian, Lydian, mixed Lydian. The 3 major modes of the major cycles. It's good seeing you. I'll see you next week. Aloha!